Last Thursday, a guy backs a 2014 Ram 1500 into my bay, 5.7 Hemi, 112,000 miles, ticking so loud from the top end, you could hear it 2 stalls over. He looks at me and says, "Is it the lifters?" I told him to sit down. Because it wasn't just the lifters. It was the cam. It was the rockers. It was 8 hours of my life I was about to spend pulling that engine apart for a guy who'd been told by 3 different shops that it was just a tuner, you'll be fine. That truck needed a full top-end rebuild. Parts and labor. We're looking at the wrong side of $7,000. And here's what killed me. He'd owned it from new, serviced it at the dealer, did everything right, bought the exact wrong year of the exact wrong engine, and nobody ever told him. So I'm going to tell you, right now, 3 Ram engines you should never buy, no matter how clean the truck looks, no matter how low the miles, no matter how good the deal is. And then 4 Ram engines I'd put my own money on tomorrow morning. Engines that, if you find the right year with documentation, you're looking at a truck that'll still be running when your kids are old enough to drive it. I've been turning wrenches on Ram trucks for over 20 years. I've seen every engine they ever stuffed between those fenders. The good, the bad, and the one I won't even quote a job on it. Let's start with the worst. Number 1 on my do not buy list, the 4.7-liter Magnum V8, produced from 1999 to 2009. Looks innocent on paper. Sounds fine idling in a parking lot. But this engine has 2 problems that nobody at the dealership is going to tell you about when you're standing there with a check in your hand. First problem, sludge. This engine is famous for. The oil passages are narrow, the PCV system is marginal, and if the previous owner skipped 1 oil change, you've got the beginning of a top-end starvation problem. I've pulled 4.7 valve covers off trucks with 80,000 miles on, where the baffle was packed so tight with black varnish you couldn't see the cam. At that point, the hydraulic lifters are already dying. They just haven't told you yet. Second problem, the timing chain tensioners are plastic. Let me say that again. The tensioners that keep the timing chain tight on a V8 engine are made of plastic. Over time, they crack, they shatter, and pieces end up in the oil pan. If you're lucky, you catch it when the check engine light throws a cam crank correlation code. If you're unlucky, the chain jumps, and a 4.7 is an interference engine. That means when the timing slips, the valves hit the piston. Game over. You're rebuilding a head or replacing the whole block. Here's the kicker. You cannot easily do the timing chain on a 4.7 in your driveway. It's an 8 to 12-hour job at a shop. You're looking at $2,000 minimum, and that's before anything else is wrong. If the truck you're looking at is a 4.7, walk away. I don't care what year. I don't care how clean it is. There's a reason these trucks are so cheap on the used market. Number 2, and this one's going to make some of you angry because it's in a lot of trucks, the 3.0 ecodiesel, first generation 2014 to 2019. Now listen, I love the idea of this engine. A small displacement diesel in a half-ton Ram, great fuel economy on paper, great torque, quiet, refined. On paper. The reality is that this engine came out of the factory with a list of known problems that reads like a phone book. EGR cooler failures, oil cooler failures that dump coolant into the oil pan and turn your bearings into milkshake, timing chain issues on early builds, and the big one, the one that got this engine pulled from sale for nearly 2 years, emissions control problems that are still showing up as diagnostic headaches in trucks that came out of that era. I had a 2015 ecodiesel in my shop 3 months ago, 87,000 miles, low for a diesel. The owner had done every scheduled service on the nose. That engine was scrap. The oil cooler failed, coolant got into the oil, the bottom end spun a bearing, and the only option was a long block replacement. $15,000 on a truck worth maybe 12. Now, not every ecodiesel is dead. I've seen a couple of good ones, but the failure rate on the first gen is too high for me to tell you to gamble on it. If the one you're looking at has a full replacement engine with documentation maybe. If it's the original block with 80,000 plus on it, run. Number 3, this is the one that hurts because it's the truck everyone wants. The 5.7 Hemi, but specifically model years 2013 through 2019 with the 8-speed automatic behind it. Trucks that were exposed to the MDS and VVT hardware in the configuration Ram ran in those years. Let me be clear. The Hemi itself is not a bad engine design. It's made tens of millions of horsepower over the years. But the MDS system, that's the cylinder deactivation, multi-displacement system, puts load on specific lifters at specific times in a way that, combined with the valve spring spec and the cam profile Ram used in that era, leads to what mechanics across the country now just call Hemi tick. And Hemi tick is not a noise, it's a countdown. Here's what happens. A lifter starts to collapse. The roller on the bottom of the lifter develops a flat spot. That flat spot grinds against the cam lobe. The cam lobe wears. Metal shavings go into the oil. Those shavings circulate through the engine and accelerate wear on every other bearing surface. By the time you hear the tick loud enough to worry about, you're often already past the point where lifters alone fix it. You need a cam, you need rockers, you need a full valve train refresh, and you need to flush every drop of contaminated oil out of the block. The repair, done right, is $6,000 to $8,000. Done wrong, meaning lifters only without pulling the cam, the truck is back in your shop within a year. I've seen it. I've done the second repair on trucks other shops fixed. It's brutal. Now, here's the part that'll piss you off. There are 2013 to 2019 Hemis that are perfectly fine. They'll run forever. But there's no way to tell from the outside which one you're looking at. The failure is statistical. It's not every truck, but it's enough trucks that I won't recommend buying one used unless you've got a full service record and an oil analysis showing no iron or copper trending. Without that paperwork, you're rolling dice on a $6,000 repair. That's the three to avoid: 4.7 Magnum, first gen 3.0 ecodiesel, and the 2013 to 2019 Hemi without documentation. Now let's talk about the 4 Ram engines I'll happily put my own money on. Best engine number 1. And if you've been around diesels at all, you already know what I'm going to say. The 5.9 Cummins, 12 valve, model years 1989 through 1998. This is the one. This is the engine that built the Cummins reputation. Mechanical injection pump. No emissions garbage. No DEF, no DPF, no EGR, no electronic tomfoolery that can strand you at a gas station in Nebraska. You can rebuild this engine with hand tools in a heated garage. I've done it. The bottom end on a 12-valve 5.9 is overbuilt to the point of absurdity. Forged crank, forged rods, huge main bearings. Built for the commercial applications, Cummins was already selling this block into industrial generators, farm equipment, fleet trucks. When they slapped it into a Ram in '89, they didn't detune it much. That engine is made to run at 80% load all day long. In a pickup truck that weighs 8,000 pounds, it's barely breathing hard. I know guys with 12-valve Cummins trucks crossing 500,000 miles on the original injectors. The real number that matters is past 600,000 on a rebuild. These engines don't die. They get neglected to death. If you find a clean 12-valve with a solid frame and a decent interior, buy it. Today's prices are only going up. Best engine number 2, the 24-valve 5.9 Cummins, model years 1998.5 through 2002, specifically the pre-common rail version with the VP44 injection pump. Now, the VP44 is where people get scared. Yes, that pump fails. It's a weak point. But here's the thing. A VP44 replacement is about $1,600 to $2,000 installed. And once you put a proper lift pump on the truck to feed the VP44 correct fuel pressure, the replacement pump will run 250,000 miles. I've done it on my own truck. I've done it on dozens of customer trucks. The block underneath that pump is the same monster the 12-valve rode on. Forged internal, overbuilt, ready for work. A 24-valve 5.9 with the VP44 addressed and a decent lift pump is one of the most bulletproof pickup engines ever sold in North America. Built to run past 400,000 miles easily. Parts support is excellent. Aftermarket is massive. And because these trucks are old enough now that they're out of most emissions inspection requirements in a lot of states, check your state. I'm not giving you legal advice. You can keep one on the road cheaply for a long time. Best engine number 3. The 6.7 Cummins, 2007.5 through 2012, specifically the pre-DEF years. Once DEF systems got mandated in 2013, for full-size diesels, things got complicated. But that 2007.5 to 2012 window on the 6.7, that's a sweet spot. You've got the bigger displacement over the 5.9. You've got common rail fuel injection, which is more efficient and quieter. You've got a factory turbo that can make serious power. And you don't have the full DEF system complexity that came later. The 6.7 in that era has a couple of known weak points. The stock EGR cooler can fail. The exhaust brake clutch pack and the transmission behind it, that's the 68 RFE or the G56 manual, has its own conversation. But the engine itself, bulletproof bottom end, cast iron block, forged crank, 6-hole injector, capable of 500,000 miles on proper maintenance. I've got customers pulling fifth wheels up the Rocky Mountains every summer with 350,000 on these trucks, and they don't blink. Here's what makes this one smart to buy right now. The market hasn't caught up to how good these are. You can still find decent 6.7S from that window for under $25,000 if you look hard. In 5 years, that window closes. Best engine number 4. And this is the one that's going to surprise some of you. The 3.6 Pentastar V6, 2011 and newer, specifically in the Ram 1500 application from about 2013 forward, after the early production kinks got sorted. Yes, a V6 in a half-ton truck. Hear me out. The Pentastar is probably the most tested, most refined V6 in modern American trucks. It's in millions of Jeeps, Chryslers, Dodges, and Ram. The design is overbuilt for the duty cycle Ram puts on it in the 1500. In a 1500 that's mostly daily driven, grocery runs, light hauling, the occasional small trailer, a Pentastar with the 8-speed behind it is a drivetrain that will run easily past 200,000 miles with basic maintenance, and I've seen plenty go past 300. Early Pentastars had a left cylinder head issue, a rocker arm and lifter problem, but that was addressed by 2013. Since then, it's been quiet. No major problems, no sludge issues, no timing chain disasters, just a smooth, boring, reliable V6 that sips gas compared to a Hemi. Here's the kicker. Nobody wants them. The used market on Pentastar-equipped Rams is soft because everyone's chasing Hemis. That means you can buy a clean, low-mileage 1500 with a Pentastar for thousands less than the same truck with a V8. And if you're using the truck as a truck, not racing it, the Pentastar is the smarter long-term play. All right, let me give you the practical steps. 3 things you do before you buy any used Ram. Step 1, get the VIN and decode the engine and transmission code. Don't trust the seller. Don't trust the Carfax. Get the actual build sheet. You can pull it from Ram's site with the VIN, or a good dealer will print it for you. That tells you exactly which engine, which transmission, which axle ratio you're looking at. It'll also show you the original build date and any factory callbacks or recalls tied to that VIN. Step 2, pay $200 for a pre-purchase inspection at an independent shop, not the dealer, not a chain. A real independent mechanic who knows Ram. Ask them specifically to pull an oil sample and send it to a lab. A used oil analysis tells you in 1 week whether that engine is wearing metal or not. $200 on a lab test can save you $10,000 on a blown short block every single time. Step 3, pull the cover off the air filter box and look at the filter. I'm serious. The filter tells you everything about how the previous owner treated the truck. Clean filter, no dust trails in the intake tube, oily residue from a quality cleaner. That's someone who cared. Shredded filter, dirt bypassing the element, dust line on the MAF housing. That's someone who drove it like a rental. Trust what you see, not what the seller says. Last thing before I let you go, and this is important. If you already own one of the 3 engines I told you to avoid, don't panic. Maintenance and early diagnosis are your friends. On a 4.7, change the oil every 4,000 miles with a quality synthetic and listen for any top-end noise. On an ecodiesel, watch your oil level religiously and get an oil analysis every other change. On a 2013 to 2019 Hemi, if you hear a tick developing, get to a shop immediately. Don't wait. The difference between catching Hemi tick at the first sound and catching it 6 months later is the difference between a $1,200 repair and a $7,000 rebuild. If this helped you, subscribe. I drop one of these every week. Hit me in the comment. Tell me what year and what engine you're rolling, and I'll tell you straight whether I'd keep it, sell it, or fix it. Next Sunday, I'm covering the 3 Ram transmissions that are silently destroying themselves right now, and one of them is behind one of the engines I just told you to buy. So, yeah, you want to watch that one. Truck's out.